I want to bring in now Dan Raviv, host of the Mossad Files podcast and co-author of Spies Against Armageddon, Inside Israel's Secret Wars, as well as former I-24 News correspondent, joining us from Washington, D.C. Dan, great to have you with us as always, especially following all of these rapid developments. The main question that many people are wondering in Israel is, this was truly a goodwill effort gesture from Hamas to the United States, or does the United States have to give some sort of concession to the terror group Hamas in order to get back Edan Alexander, and what it all means for the U.S.-Israel relationship, Dan?
Yeah, Hamas wanted legitimacy, as you're saying in the studio, and Hamas got it by striking this deal with the United States. It definitely raises Hamas's prestige. So even as Israel is committed, the Netanyahu government is committed to destroying Hamas, so Hamas can never again rule in Gaza and threaten Israel. This strengthens Hamas in the sense of prestige. And so even more now, Israel may feel it needs to knock down Hamas. Like, take Edan Alexander, say, okay, thank you very much, President Trump. I mean, it's impossible. You just can't say that the release of this young man, this 21-year-old, is bad news politically for Israel. So I won't say that, but especially if he is then flown to Qatar this week, as is being proposed apparently by the White House, to thank President Trump and the Emir of Qatar. Well, as you heard from Eitan Dangot, Qatar financed Hamas for many years. Boy, it's not just a bad look, and President Trump would love it, of course, being thanked, but it is a setback for Israel, though it's great for the Alexander family, and of course for hostage families to raise some hopes, I think.
Well, this is a major question as well, talking about Donald Trump's stance when it comes to Qatar, because during his first term, Trump was very vocal against Qatar. He stated that it funds terrorism, the exact terrorism that we saw on October 7th. And so now with these moves to not only go to Qatar, but bring Edan Alexander to Qatar to see the same quote-unquote terror-funded state, according to Trump himself during his first term in office, that helped fund the Hamas terror group. What does this say about the Trump administration's stance right now when it comes to Qatar?
Nicole, here's what I'm thinking. First, he's following the Saudi lead back in 2017, 2018, a big falling out between Saudi Arabia and the UAE on one side, Qatar on the other. President Trump took the Saudi side, but now it's follow the money. The three countries that President Trump is visiting starting tomorrow, Saudi Arabia, Qatar on Thursday, the UAE on Friday, they all plan to invest in the U.S. They plan to buy defense, meaning military equipment and planes from the U.S. President Trump is going to love it. So does it also mean that those three countries now are politically closer with Washington? I'll say yes, though I think Qatar will continue to be a frenemy. A little bit of an enemy because it's so close with Hamas, other radical organizations, and Iran. But Qatar also plays host to a really big U.S. military base, Al Udeid. So it's a mixed picture, but you know as well, President Trump is accepting a gift. He defended the idea today from Qatar, and that's a Boeing jumbo jet to serve as Air Force One. President Trump said he'd be a stupid person to say no to the gift. So he obviously plans to say yes.
Dan, you mentioned those three countries that Trump is planning to visit starting tomorrow in Saudi Arabia, but notably not on the list is Israel. And there are some fears in Israel, some speculation in the media that not only the Trump administration has shot down, but Israeli officials have shot down as well. These fears of growing daylight between Trump and Netanyahu, especially regarding today's news now that Israel truly was not involved in the release of Edan Alexander. What do you make of some of these swirling reports?
Nicole, if you're looking for daylight between the U.S. and Israel, then take off your sunglasses. Take off your rose-colored glasses. Look at reality. Whether President Trump intends it or not to offend Israel, to make some distance, that's what he's doing. That's what's occurring. You could say he's insensitive to Israeli concerns. But he decided to open direct nuclear talks with Iran and sprung that on Bibi Netanyahu. President Trump decided to stop bombing targets in Yemen. He made a separate deal with the Houthis. And after that, the Houthis hit Ben Gurion Airport near Tel Aviv. And it's Israel's problem and not the U.S. problem anymore. I'd call that daylight.
All right, Dan Raviv, a lot of rapidly developing situations here in the Middle East, as always. Thank you so much for your analysis and for joining us.